What's happening, everybody? Daniel here. This is a very quick video I just wanted to do just about the Lightroom Workshop. This is more of a sort of casual riff as opposed to like an official video. I've just had quite a few emails about just kind of various questions about the Lightroom Workshop, so I just wanted to talk about it a little bit in this video. And a lot of this stuff that I'm about to talk about is what's written below on this page. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, just visit the website school.dgbworldphotography.com and then click on Adobe Lightroom Workshops. Guys, I'll talk to you a little bit about Adobe Lightroom, what it is, and then a little bit about the workshop, because I'm getting some questions from you guys who are just kind of starting out in photography, and I know that this stuff is, especially for beginners, can be a little bit confusing. So I'll just start off by talking about what is Adobe Lightroom. It is a piece of software that has been developed by Adobe, believe it or not, and it's used to do two things with your photographs. One, manage them. So how do we, usually when you go out and take photographs, you're taking lots of images of effectively the same thing. So for example, when I go out and I photograph a wedding, I'm often taking many photographs of the same scene but from different angles and different perspectives. And we use Lightroom to work out which one of those photographs is the best, compositionally, light-wise, technically as well. So based on the sharpness of the image and whether or not it may be blurry, there may be like somebody blinking, etc. Lightroom, on the management side of things, it has a great system for managing the photographs. So working out which ones are good, which ones are bad, and organizing them in an orderly fashion. So, you know, this is something you don't really think about until you start taking a lot of photographs. Managing your photographs is a bit of a nightmare. I know when I first started doing photography and before I first started using Adobe Lightroom, I was just using Windows Explorer because I was using a PC back then, or Finder if you're on a Mac, and I was just organizing, like putting memory card into my computer, copying these photographs, over using Windows Explorer and organizing them with folders. So the problem with this is that, one, you can't really see a lot, especially if you're shooting in RAW, you can't see what these photographs are. So there's no kind of visual about what the photographs are that you've taken. And also, if I want to take the best of those images, what I was doing was I was literally making a second copy of those images and I was putting them in another folder and making another copy of them. So obviously this system is completely inefficient. With Lightroom, how we organize our photographs using collections, and we cull them and organize them using like a star rating system. And there's so many ways within the Lightroom library, there's so many ways to manage your photographs using like colors and flags and stars and stuff. But with the Lightroom Workshop, I'm going to be teaching you my exact system. So the system that I use on a day-to-day basis for managing my photographs. And I've tried to make it as simple as possible because I'm all about just keeping things as simple as possible when it comes to photography. And I mean this, you know, in every sense of the word. From the shoot day when I'm out photographing a wedding, I like to, you know, you won't see me carrying around 3 speed lights, 2 tripods, and a backpack full of gear. I literally have one bag, 2 or 3 lenses, 3 at the moment, spare body and spare batteries around somewhere that I can access if I need them. So keeping things simple, and that goes for the post-production phase as well. So getting back to it, I got a little bit off topic there. Lightroom we use for managing our photographs, and we use it for developing our photographs as well. So developing our photographs, what does that mean? That means developing the RAW file. So the first thing is, if you don't know about RAW, you need to be shooting in RAW. So I tell this to every single person, but I still hear from people that you know, they heard from so-and-so that you don't need to be shooting in RAW, JPEG is fine. And I completely disagree, and I'll tell you the reasons why. And the first thing is, RAW is like a digital negative, okay? So it's like an undeveloped raw data file, okay? And it maintains all of that original information about the photograph. So when it comes to developing it, you can change things if you got it wrong at shoot time. So specifically when we're talking about exposure and white balance, these are things that can be changed in post-production as if you were there doing it correctly in camera, within limits. Okay, so you have a lot more room to move with a RAW file as compared to a JPEG file. That's the first thing. The second thing is you want to be shooting in RAW because when you go and develop your photographs, you're learning about photography, you're learning about exposure, you're learning about what you did wrong in camera and your ability to correct it in post-production. So correcting things in post-production just allows you to apply that next time you go out photographing. So that's what we want to be able to analyze. We've got to work out, okay, I know that time I was using, my shutter speed was at this speed, like 1/80th of a second, and the subject is blurry. So I'll know next time that instead of using 1/80th of a second with a certain focal length, that I need to use a faster shutter speed in order to avoid that blur. Okay, so lots and lots of little things like that that you're learning, and this sort of stuff is your photography education. Okay, guys, so you know, if you're not developing photographs, if you're just purely using the JPEG file and then that is your final product, then it's a waste of your photography education because you're not really learning anything from it. It does help if you're shooting in manual mode, for sure, but having a RAW file there that allows you to play with the exposure in post-production, you can see instantly what's happening when you play around with certain sliders in Lightroom. That's how you learn. Okay, so Lightroom is used for managing your photographs and developing your photographs. They're the two biggest things. And why do we want to use Adobe Lightroom as opposed to other products? There are some great other products around there. If you don't want to invest, like Adobe Lightroom is not very expensive. It's under $200, way under. I think it's like $130 or something like that. You can get a student discount as well if you're a photography student. Lightroom is the industry standard for developing and managing your photographs. Okay, I'm going to talk to you a little bit later just about why we want to use Lightroom or why you would use Lightroom over Adobe Photoshop. But there are other products like Google Picasa. If you don't want to invest in the $200, let's say it's $200, then Google Picasa that's a great free tool from Google that allows you to get into this sort of stuff. It's not quite as advanced as Lightroom, but I know for sure, I know many professional photographers that are using Lightroom alone for their development work, and this is the industry standard product for photographic development, and it's so affordable as well. So it's just a matter of really acquiring the skills to use this software. I know it can be a little bit daunting when you first open it up, because it's, there's buttons everywhere, etc., etc. And I know for me, my life as a photographer changed when I discovered Lightroom. So I know this sounds kind of quite grand and a little bit silly, and I don't mean it that way. It's not like as soon as I found Lightroom, I got my dream job. I got a girlfriend after 40 years of being single. Nothing like that. I just mean that that's pretty much where my photography education started. So discovering Lightroom and discovering RAW was where it all started for me. So let me see what else I've got on my notes. Yeah, Lightroom versus Photoshop. So the thing with Photoshop is, to start with, Photoshop is a tool that is designed for creative professionals across the board. Okay, Lightroom is designed specifically for photographers. So if you've ever opened up Photoshop before, it is extremely complicated, okay? And it also costs about $1,000 if you want to buy it. There's also no management functionality built in to Photoshop. So if you want to manage your photographs, you can either use Adobe Bridge, which is like a kind of partner program, I guess you'd call it, for Photoshop, or you can just use Lightroom for the management side of things. But I think the thing is, if you're going to be buying Lightroom, you may as well use Lightroom for the development side as well, because there's things that you can do in Lightroom that would take 10 times as long in Photoshop, and which is again why Lightroom is fantastic, because it's designed for speed when it comes to developing your work. So that's that. What else do I have to say here? Yeah, so the workshop. Here's a few words about what I'm going to be talking about at the workshop. It is a full day thing, so it's 10 till 6. You need to bring your own laptop, bring a camera along if you like. We spend the first half of the day talking about a lot of stuff that happens before Lightroom. So before we even open up Lightroom, I'm going to be spending, actually not that long, maybe an hour, just talking about, the digital workflow and other stuff which is equally as important to setting yourself up correctly the first time. So digital workflow, and we're going to be talking about management and setting yourself up with a system to manage your photographs. There's also a whole lot of little essential checks and setup things like metadata, little kind of settings to help performance in Lightroom that we're going to be talking about. And that's pretty much the first kind of 2 or 3 hours. The second half of the day is spent on the development side of things. So development, I'm going to be giving you 8 or 9 of my own personal photographs from my portfolio, the raw files, and I'm going to show you how we get from A to B exactly. And I'm going to be giving you my personal preset, which I apply to every photograph. And you guys, we're going to run through and tell you exactly what I do and why I do it. And you guys are going to learn about almost every little thing that you can do in Lightroom. And I've specifically chosen these images because each image we use, I don't necessarily use everything that we do on each image every day, but a lot of these images I've chosen so that I can exemplify these things and show you guys how to use them. So, you know, I get a lot of people asking me, yeah, there's, what about, should I just jump on YouTube and have a look and see what tutorials are out there? And I always reply with, definitely get involved. There's some great tutorials online. Even Adobe have, I think it's called Adobe TV. And that has some fantastic tutorials if you just want to kind of, you know, go through and learn the basics of Lightroom. The difference between what you'll learn online and what you'll learn at this workshop is that those tutorials tend to show you what can be done in Lightroom. So it shows you the potential of Lightroom, but it doesn't necessarily give you the best way of doing things. So I'm not claiming that my way is the best way at all, but I'm giving you my system that I know works and that I know, you know, I use this on a day-to-day basis to develop my own photographs because, well, I'm a wedding photographer, so I need to have a system in place for this kind of stuff. And I'm photographing between 20 and 30, sometimes up to 40 weddings a year. So this sort of stuff is, you know, it's my bread and butter. I have to know how to do this stuff well, and this is exactly what I'm teaching you guys. So, you know, there's a saying that you can, if you want to learn anything new, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be photography related, but you can, now what is the phrase? Yeah, so I just remembered. If you want to cook a great meal, you can go online and work it out, experimenting with yourself for weeks, or you can go and talk to the chef and learn it in 60 seconds. And I think that kind of applies to photography. And this is why you would want to come to this workshop, is because I'm teaching you everything that I have learnt since 2007. I think I've been using Lightroom. I'm teaching you everything that I have learnt and all the mistakes that I've made, and I'm giving you a system that has really just evolved over the years to where it is now. And this is something that I use today in my day-to-day work. So, guys, I think that's about it. I know I've really been talking a lot, but scroll down and have a look at what else I've written there on the page, and I hope that helps. But hopefully you can make it to a Lightroom workshop one day, and if you have any questions, just email me. Sometimes it takes me some time to get back to you, but I always get back to everybody. Daniel@djbworldphotography.com. So thanks for listening, and I guess I'll catch you in the virtual world. If you're on Facebook, social media, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, or on the email list, you'll probably be hearing from me soon. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.